think Biden should drop out of the race?
Of course, I said it long ago. I called him Ruth Bader Biden.
Ruth Bader Biden. Do you worry that could help Trump, that Trump might get?
If Biden drops out, they'll win, without doubt. Biden should drop out. That's the point. He's being selfish.
Bill Maher has repeatedly, and to be honest with you, accurately stated that Biden should drop out of the race and leave room for a stronger Democratic candidate to run against Donald Trump, the presumptive Republican nominee. But on last Friday's episode of his show Real Time, Maher proposed a different strategy for beating Trump. The problem with his idea is it appeals to, in my opinion, almost no one, except for Bill Maher, I guess. So here's his idea. Here's what he said verbatim, quote, "I know it's crazy that Nikki Haley could run with Biden, but that's my dream, a unity ticket. And then Biden, I think, would definitely win." He adds a caveat saying, of course, she said some crazy things. Most politicians have, not as crazy as we've never been a racist country. I mean, that's pretty crazy. But his dream ticket would be Joe Biden and Nikki Haley. And obviously this would mean that Biden would have to dump Vice President Kamala Harris, which I don't think he has any will to do. But putting that aside, let's just say Bill Maher gets what he wants. Really, would a Biden, Nikki Haley ticket, would that be your dream ticket? Because Nikki Haley, her brand of Republicanism is Bush era neoconservatism.
Yeah, so to be fair to Bill Maher, it's more than just Bill Maher, but to Anna's point, unfortunately it's become Democratic leadership. And let me explain what I mean by that, in that ideology. So they'll always couch it in terms of, oh, we're trying to appeal to the Republicans in the suburbs with this strategy of reaching out to the other side, being bipartisan, bringing in someone like Nikki Haley or Mitt Romney as a so-called dream ticket. Okay, but it's a cover story. And for them, they don't even realize it's a cover story. They genuinely believe it. I've seen it in action with people who are genuinely saying it, not just people on TV. And the group that I'm talking about is establishment Democrats who largely agree with establishment Republicans. And they're usually wealthy. They're almost all in the top 10%. A lot of them are in the top 1%. And they have friends that are in that same group. And for those guys, well, Nikki Haley, Mitt Romney, Joe Biden, they all give me tax cuts, they all deregulate, they all are in favor of the status quo, and the status quo has been terrific to Bill Maher and everyone else in that group, right? They don't want a lot of change, that's why they're not for Bernie or progressives or outsiders. They just want a little bit of pleasant change if possible, right? But mainly don't upset the status quo. The problem is almost everyone in power belongs to that group and the rest of the country does not. So they constantly keep making the mistake of thinking, oh my God, if we bring Nikki Haley in, we bring Liz Cheney in, we bring in all these neocons to our party, the country will love us. No, the country never liked those people in the first place. That's why Republican voters have even rejected, not just Nikki Haley, but the Cheneys of the past, right? And the Democratic voters never liked them in the first place. But unfortunately, because of Bill Maher and Joe Scarborough and everyone in establishment media, now some significant chunk of Democratic primary voters somehow think that Nikki Haley and Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney are on our team. They are not on our team. They are massive neocons. They're terrible people with terrible policies, and I wouldn't want them anywhere near power.
The Trump era has completely changed the landscape of our politics. Let's just keep it real, right? Because what happened after 2016 was you have some amount, a crop of Republicans in power, the Republican elite, looking at Trump, they're disgusted by him. And so they're the Never Trump Republicans who got absorbed into the Democratic Party. The Never Trump Republicans also happen to be the Bush era brand of Republicans. And I hate them deeply. Okay, the ones who love the forever wars, the ones who want to intervene in any conflict on the globe, in the globe. I don't like these people. Their policies don't resonate with me. They don't prioritize what's best for the American people. And so if they're gonna be sucked into the Democratic Party, and they have increasingly been sucked into the Democratic Party.
Yeah,
you
for
mentioned
sure.
that Liz Cheney, I mean, Liz Cheney is celebrated among the Democratic elite right now. You see this weird love affair that they're having for like Mitt Romney had a little bit of a conscience toward the end of his political career and spoke out against some of the bad behavior in his own party. And I give him credit for that. With that said, he ain't my homeboy. Right? I'm not looking for a Mitt Romney to admire and look up to as a leader of the party I support, right? So like the Mitt Romneys, the Nikki Haley's, the Liz Cheneys, all these people who I find to be devastatingly loathsome when it comes to their political policies and how much they value, billionaire donors over the best interests of the American people. If that's what the brand of the Democratic Party is gonna be now, I'm done with the Democratic Party completely.
Yeah, so I think Romney's such an interesting case because back in 2012, when Romney and Obama were having their election, of course, I said something that the Democratic Party and media found outrageous at the time. I said, guys, there isn't that much of a difference between them. And they're like, oh, how could you say that? This is the most important election of our lifetimes. Romney's the devil.
Every election is.
Yeah, of course, right? So that's what they do every election. Romney's the devil and Obama's an angel. I was like, I don't know. Obamacare is warmed over Romney care. It's literally the same exact plan. You could look that up, right? And their policies are not that far away from each other. And that was considered heretical to say back then. But now all of a sudden, those same exact people are saying, what do you mean? Romney and Obama are the same person anyway. What difference does it make? Let's get Romney on the ticket with Biden. It'll be just like Biden and Obama. Okay, wait, so which one is it? Okay, which one is it? So the reality is those guys don't mind that Mitt Romney's a corporate robot, right? Because they like corporate robots. That's what so they're like, yeah, Romney, Obama, Biden, Nikki Haley, who cares? Just give me a corporate robot that's gonna protect the status quo for the rich and powerful. So in a sense, I don't blame them because for their economic interest and for their interest overall, they are replaceable. And who cares if they're Democrats or Republicans? They all do the same thing anyway.
Yeah.
So that is true. He just doesn't say the truth about why he thinks that.
I think for people like Bill Maher, it's not even about like, I don't want anything to change. I think for Bill Maher, it's, I just want to go back to the era where politics and politicians were boring and they were normal, and they like normal in that they behaved publicly. Like privately, they're raping and pillaging the American people. Not literally raping, but I'm talking about the resources and all of that stuff.
Some of them.
Well, that's a good point. But you get what I'm saying? And look, honestly, I've come to a point where proposals to make these big changes, I'm skeptical of. Because I've seen how some of it gets carried out. I mean, I think the Build Back Better agenda, what it turned into, was a massive handout to corporations.
Didn't I warn about that?
Yeah, no, you did. Okay, so let's also focus on a local level, right? Like the big criminal justice reform changes. Did they reform the prisons? No.
No,
Did they reform policing or provide better training for policing? No.
Something very rarely at the local level or Justice Department might step in one city or another. But overall, was there a massive reform of policing in this country? Absolutely not.
Right, has there been a mass investment in rehabilitative programs?
Nope.
No, all they've done is loosen laws to let people out early or to not prosecute them at all. And I don't like those changes. Those changes have been very bad in some big cities like Los Angeles, New York. You get the point.
Yeah, and ironically, so I was doing some research about this over the weekend. Anna's the better researcher, but and so I looked into who gave the money to do this so-called criminal justice reform that we never really agreed to, and et cetera, because we wanted to make sure that people who were innocent, like on a marijuana charge, et cetera, didn't needlessly spend years in jail. We wanted to reform policing. I'm like, and how did this get turned into domestic assault is now a misdemeanor? I'm like, nobody said that. Nobody even proposed that. I don't know how that happened, right?
Or like in California where child sex trafficking was not considered a serious felony.
Yeah,
insane.
It went off the rails in a way that no one agreed to at some point, right? And so as I was looking at the donors of those campaigns,
all rich,
all corporate Democrats. We didn't agree to this. It's like the corporate Democrats took over a wing of the progressive movement, funded it like crazy. None of the popular things passed. Only the most unpopular things passed. And so it's so frustrating. Okay, but back to Bill Maher, last thing on it is, I realize as Anna was talking about the forever wars, there's another reason why Bill Maher might not mind Nikki Haley and Joe Biden. Remember, Bill Maher is a huge supporter of Israel, including whichever right-wing government comes up. I mean, he claims to be left-wing here in America, but it almost doesn't matter how right-wing any government in Israel is. He always says, it's great, it's wonderful, it's humanitarian. As they kill tens of thousands of civilians, they do it with the most beautiful and open and generous heart, and the Palestinians are awful terrorists, etc. Right? And who says that? Nikki Haley, Joe Biden, Mitt Romney, everyone like the neocons, etc. All the neocons are like, right wing of government of Israel is always right, and we should start wars on their behalf. And Bill Maher agrees with that. So for him, Biden and Nikki Haley would definitely be the dream team. And then he took one last piece of absurdity. One of the panelists said, but wait a minute, they'd be replacing a woman of color, Kamala Harris, and that could create a real problem. And he's like, no, it's okay, she's a woman of color.
Meaning Nikki Haley is. And then he literally said, wink, wink.
Yeah, come on, Bill, come on. Okay, like that's like saying, oh, no, you could just bring in Herschel Walker to be Joe Biden's campaign. What, he's a person of color? That's not what people of color mean, okay? Your perspective actually matters.
All right, let's just move on. Sucks. Politics right now sucks.
Yeah, because look, final thing on it, to Anna's point, the Republicans have lost their minds and they're in MAGA land where Trump won the election and COVID didn't exist and whatever other crazy stuff they believe, right? But the Democrats have just turned into the old Republicans.
Yes.
So then
where do we go?
Where do we go?